Hi, I'm Rob Cornilles, running for the 1st Congressional District in Oregon. Voters should elect me because we've got an unemployment rate that doesn't seem to be going down at all, and we need people in Congress who know what it takes to create jobs in this country. And as a small business owner in Oregon for the last 15 years, I know the role that government should play, the proper role, and I also know when government becomes too intrusive, and as a result, it stifles job creation. And voters in Oregon right now, among all the issues, they know that job creation is number one. And they also want to put people in Congress who have some experience. And as one who started that small business, I've been able to employ in that time about 60 people. And I've been able to create about 500 careers around the country in the last 15 years alone. And I'm also not a career politician, so I'm more of a career builder. And I think people are desperate to find people who can run for office, be elected to office, who know something about all of those important factors to lead to job creation, because that's the one thing in this election that everybody agrees on, regardless of party affiliation, is that it's not fun when your neighbor loses their job, it's not fun when you can't pay your mortgage, it's not fun when grandpa and grandma can't retire like they had planned to, it's not fun when you don't have enough money to go to college. And so this is really, if you will, a nonpartisan election in that respect. We need people who are doers, not people who are just talkers. Well, I think I'll be very prepared to take over my first day, because though I'm not a career politician, I'm someone who's been born and raised in this district, and I understand what ails Oregon right now. And I've been spending my time throughout this campaign going out and talking to the voters, and more than talking, listening to the voters. You can't do that if you're stuck back in Washington. You can't do that if during the recess of Congress you decide to hide. Instead, you got to get out and you got to do town halls, you have to hold meetings, you have to talk to people on the phone, in your office, wherever you can find them, breakfast, lunch, dinner, everywhere. And I've been doing that for 16 months. And when I go back to Congress, I'll also not only have a firm understanding of what ails Oregonians, but I'll also understand that you have to learn to be collaborative with those people that you're working with. You have to find compromise, not in your principles, but in your practices. And Oregonians will find me to be an advocate for them. They'll find me to be a champion for what we need right here. And quite frankly, we're a neglected district. We don't have someone back there sitting at the table fighting for Oregon in the 1st District especially. And that's what they're going to find much different when they elect Rob Cornilles to this seat, is I'm someone who has experience sitting at the table and getting something done. And I think I've got the skill set that's required, and my professional background has prepared me for this. And so I think that's first and foremost what people are looking for, not whether or not you know how to find your way around Washington, but whether or not you know how to solve problems. And I've got experience at that, and I can't wait to exercise that experience for this district. First and foremost, that we have to do in Washington is we have to be able to create an environment where the private sector can create jobs. The free market works, but you have to let it do what it does best. And right now we've got a situation where the federal government is becoming invasive in the free market system. They're either crippling it through regulation that is too big, it's too long, it's too litigious, or they're giving us tax policy which causes people who want to invest again, people who want to hire again, it's causing them to sit on their hands. And if you don't have predictability in the marketplace, it's very difficult for those who we rely on to hire to make those moves, because they don't know what's coming around the corner. So job creation is number one, but I also think government has to show some fiscal restraint. In fact, I'm not thinking that, I absolutely know it, because when we're running a $1.4 trillion deficit in our spending right now, it's a sign that Washington's out of control with spending. They think whenever we have a problem, the government should be taking more money out of the American taxpayer, more money out of American enterprise, and spending it through the government. The best way to fix our problems is to put people back to work. That'll create more taxpayers. That will enable us to reduce government dependence all around the country. And so anything that impedes job creation is something I'm going to work very hard against. Well, first of all, you have to know what Oregonians stand for. You have to know what problems Oregonians are facing right now. And we're a district that has not had a champion in this congressional seat for many, many, many years. My opponent was recently ranked as 324th out of 435 members in influence, and he's been in office for 12 years. Now, throughout my professional career, I've enjoyed taking on challenges. I've enjoyed doing things that people didn't think I could do. Whether it was promoting the worst team in professional sports, being the LA Clippers, or whether it's starting a small business in Oregon where my industry really doesn't exist, or whether it's creating new services for my industry that they didn't know they needed at the time but now are becoming a staple in my industry. So I'm accustomed to taking on challenges, and I'm used to creating an opportunity of influence. And I'm a fighter. I'm someone who likes the challenge. I'm not someone who sits on the back of the bench asking when I can have a turn. I'm not someone who asks how high I can jump for the leadership. I'm an independent voice, and I think that best suits Oregon. It best reflects Oregon and what we are here. And I'm also not someone who takes orders from other people who don't really understand the priorities of Oregonians. I have said many times on this campaign that there may be opportunities for me to vote against the Republican Party, and that's because I'm going to vote what I think is best for Oregon, not necessarily what's best for a party. Because that's the bottom line here. I'm aiming for results, not for re-election. And I'm going to do what I think is best to get Oregon's positive results. Well, I think there are probably pockets of misdeeds and corruption in Congress, as there probably is in every industry. Certainly what we see in Congress seems to be magnified, and especially when you're dealing with the taxpayers' money. It's absolutely irresponsible, it's unethical to do things using taxpayer money to gain your own interests or to further your own interests if you're an elected official. It's a real shame that the term public servant anymore gets a smirk because people just don't believe in the term. So I'm running for this position because I recognize hard and difficult choices have to be made. I frankly had no aspirations to run for this office. I'm 46 years old, and probably one could say that if I intended to run for Congress at this point in my life, many years ago I would have gotten on the career track of a politician. I would have run for city council and state legislature and those types of things. Not that there's anything wrong with people who want to serve in those positions, but I decided to leave my private sector job, my company, in the hands of my very capable employees and do what I think is right. Because what's wrong, I should say, is for us to be leaving a legacy to our kids and our grandkids and even our great-grandkids of debt that they're not going to be able to repay, which will inhibit their ability to enjoy the same success we've had as Oregonians over the years. So this is why I'm running. If you stay true to why you're running, if the voters knew that I like my day job right now, I like running a business in Tualatin, I like the industry I'm in, it's an exciting career, and quite frankly, many of the people in my industry think I'm crazy to leave it because we've created a pretty good niche for ourselves. But we know when our country's in a tough spot as we are today, I think all of us, not just candidates, but supporters, volunteers, we have to step outside of ourselves and do that which is a little uncomfortable, that which was perhaps unexpected and unplanned for. And for me, running for office is that thing. And I'll be able to come home every weekend in Congress and say to the voters and my constituents, I can look at myself in the mirror knowing I'm doing the right thing for them. We may not always agree, but my conscience will always be clear. This is a critical election that we're facing in about 40 days. I believe that the result of this election is going to determine the future of our country for generations to come. We're either going to embolden the activities that have gotten us into this fix, or we're going to begin to slowly unravel them, fix them, in some cases reverse them. And if we don't, as voters, make a very clear statement to our federal government today, if we don't hold them accountable, if we don't hold them responsible for those actions that they've been taking or not taking, then I'm afraid we're going to look back in a year or 2 or 5 or 10 or 20 and we're going to say 2010 was the opportunity of the window that was open and we didn't take advantage of it. So I would encourage everyone in the 1st District to look seriously at me and my opponent and ask themselves, who is going to be a better advocate for Oregon? Who is going to provide positive results? Are we going to continue to think like we've always thought? Because if we do, I think we're going to continue to get what we've always got. Or are we going to entrust it with someone who has proven in their own life, both personal and professional, that they can make a positive out of a negative and that they can leave something better than they found it? And I think with me, Rob Cornilles, voters will be convinced after I'm elected that they made the right choice.